As the son of Guinean immigrants who was born in Saudi Arabia, raised in New York, and has traveled all around the world, I've always been fascinated with the concept of home. They say home is where the heart is, but what about where it used to be, where it wants to be? This led me on a journey to explore the goals, struggles, and accomplishments of African immigrants who have returned home. Season 1 takes place in one of my countries of origin, the Republic of Guinea. In 1958, Guinea was the first West African country to say no to French colonial rule, becoming totally independent from France. The country's first president, Sékou Touré, famously said, "We prefer freedom in poverty to wealth in slavery." This quote embodies the spirit of Guineans. Guinea is a mineral-rich country that has an abundance of diamonds, gold, precious metals, and contains 25% of the world's bauxite reserves. The opportunities are endless. Are you brave enough to come home? On the day of the World Cup final, I went on an adventure with Binette. She took me to La Terrace 1958 Lounge to watch the match with a group of Africans from the diaspora who have either relocated or are visiting CONAKRY. We were all happy that France won the World Cup because the French national team is made up of players who originate from Africa. And even happier when one of the goal scorers was Paul Pogba, who has Guinean roots. This made it special for all of us on the continent. And to my surprise, I even reconnected with a friend from the States who I haven't seen in over 20 years. CONAKRY is full of surprises. Binette is best described as a thrill seeker who relocated from Montreal to settle back home by any means necessary.
I have been back for a little bit over 2 years now. So I left Canada 3 years ago, and I spent 1 year in China learning Mandarin. So now I know how to say ni hao and some other stuff. Working in communication, working with startups, building their communication strategy, and also working with the Ministry of Telecommunication. Have been working with them for a little bit over a year now, and building communication strategy, making sure that people know what we are doing in the country with startups, but also with the government. It's quite interesting and challenging, let's say.
And how long did you spend in Canada?
15 years.
15 years in Canada.
Yes. Too long, right?
No, just I think a good amount of time to develop and
Yeah.
be ripe and learn whatever you want to learn. And
It's true. So I left when I was 13. Now people know my age, you see. This is not fun.
Not necessarily. They don't know that you're 21.
Thank you.
They don't know.
So nice of you. So yeah, I left when I was something, and spent 15 years there. So I did my, let's say, j'ai fait mon collège.
Ouais.
That's middle school. I had to redo 2 classes because I was too young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then I did high school, and then I did 1 year in a technical school in electronic. I had to stop because I almost burned my school.
Wow.
Yes. And I was like, no, maybe this is not for me because I don't want to burn the entire country one day, And then I stopped. And then I did graphic design for a year.
Yeah.
And then university in communication and public relations.
Do you miss Canada ever?
I miss Montreal a lot, especially, the food. Like in Guinea, I don't have the poutine, I don't have the pâté chinois, and I don't have all the games like, basketball and things like that. We don't really have that culture here. But it's an adjustment. Here I have dappa, I have tori, I have lafidi, Exactly. No one can beat that. No one can beat that. So yeah, I miss the food, and I miss places where I can buy books, especially. I love reading. And now I have to order books, ask people that are coming, can you bring me this book and that book? So those are the little things I'm missing. The city itself, it's my home. Montreal always going to be home to me.
And where were you born?
my mom says that I was born in Romania.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that though. But yeah, I was born in Bucharest. Yeah, les pays soviétiques.
What? And that's interesting because where we are in Guinea, in CONAKRY right now, is Seresco,
Cité des
which is
Russes.
Cité des
Russes.
Russes.
En fait, c'est la cité de recherche océanographique de la Guinée.
De la Guinée.
But it was built by a Russian when they were building all the stuff in Guinea because of the relationship they had with the first president and things like that. But océanographique parce que on est quand même un pays côtier.
Ouais.
Et il faut vraiment qu'on sache un peu plus ce qui se passe avec le niveau d'eau et tout. Surtout aujourd'hui avec tous les problèmes environnementaux. Il faut vraiment pouvoir surveiller ça. Et ils font des recherches dans la cité. It's quite interesting.
Well, it's a great place. I always love coming here and talking with your dad and Gaite for a long time. And just watching them talk too, because they had good conversations and just, like this place is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly,
so much stuff around.
I was born in Romania, but I grew up in this apartment. So I always lived here when I was in Guinea all the time. My parents got married and they moved in here. So when I came, they were already in this apartment. And since then. So this is my mom and dad place. We kind of knew this only apartment. This is the only apartment we knew since day one, my sister and I. And it changed a lot.
Was the plan always to move back to Guinea, or did you ever think that you'd stay in Canada forever?
Honestly, I feel like I never wanted to go in the first place. So how I ended up going, actually I went on vacation. And one day my uncle came to me and he's like, oh, they decided you're not going back home. I'm like, going back where? And like, you're not going back to Guinea.
Wow.
I'm like, what? And then he just back then it was still paper ticket, right? So he took my ticket and he just shredded in front of me. I'm like, is this dude joking or
in
something?
Canada?
Yeah, no, it was in the US.
Where?
It was in Washington.
In DC.
In DC. And so yeah, we started a conversation. I called my mom and I was crying. And a week after 9/11 happened. And I was like, no, I'm not staying in this country, that's for sure.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's when I ended up going to Canada and starting school. But in my mind, it was always, okay, first of all, I didn't even have the chance to say goodbye to my friends or anything like that. And I don't think it's a place for me. I'm really a family person, and I like the heat. I don't like wintertime. And so it was always for me to come back. I always knew I had to come back. How or when was never, it was more, I will go with the flow, but I always knew I would come back. And since I've been back, I honestly don't regret the return or anything. So I think it's the right place for me. CONAKRY or Guinea is definitely the right place for me.
Check out the next episode of Momo Dione Going Home.